I think I was talking about how much I respect the fraudsters. I shouldn't be saying this in a big forum, but for example, we had Hong Kong Post. They were sending out fraudsters sending out fake HK Post alerts to people saying, "Oh, you owe a little bit of tax on a delivery you expected." Now in COVID-19, people are getting lots of deliveries. They don't necessarily keeping track. They'll log in, give their credentials, and then they'll do another purchase with that and run off with a lot of money. We've seen the same thing with Amazon.com, where they say they're going to give you a refund on some stuff, and it turns out to be a transaction. So they are very clever. But one thing I forgot to say, and is very important for every bank's management of fraud risk, is do not blame the customer. Now, and the reason for that is quite practical. It's about getting intelligence. You don't know much, you won't figure out as much about what's going on if you blame your customer and you don't have a voice in the opinion. So, yes, we can talk about liability and all that sort of stuff, but at the end of the day, I would recommend not saying you should have known better or something on the same regards to your customer, because that denies you a valuable intelligence opportunity in order to better mitigate the risk for the rest of your customers.
Absolutely. Sorry. Absolutely. That actually gets us to the point where, yes, banks and we have to solve the issues and take care of our customers. So Pradeep, what do you think, what controls a bank should have in place in order to make sure that we are creating a robust environment?
So I think very interesting point in response to the last question. I think one thing which is absolutely clear from the conversation is no matter what technology you're adopting, right? You're adopting the technology with keeping customer in the center of it. What that means is when you design a particular process or a product, are you diligent enough or you vigilant enough and being aware of vulnerabilities, not just to your system, your processes and your internal people, but also your customer, and therefore creating a product which is customer centric, which can be made, for which the customer can be made aware of that what are the vulnerabilities, what are the things that we are taking care of, what could result into the loss. Most of the time, with the pace of shortening the time to market, the products have been launched in a way where the journeys or the user journeys are thought to be user-friendly. It may be user-friendly from the customer experience perspective, but may not be user-friendly from the perspective of saying, are we offering a very safe product to the customer, which can be easily understood by the customer and could be easily handled by the customer. Just imagine the digital transformation that has happened in the country would have brought the number of users who are the first-time digital users, the first-time users who has not been exposed to the technology at this scale in past. Therefore, the responsibility of delivering some of the products on the organizations like banks and us is far more. Creation of awareness on the products that we are offering, are they suitable? This goes back to the assessment of appropriateness and suitability of a product. Are they suitable for the customer to whom we are offering? And that holistic assessment should be important part of the product governance policies or the product governance processes within the organization. That's number one. Number two is now reflect on the conversation that we're having that these pathways are converging. So what would be my control? How can I control that bank A devices be good enough for the bank B, or the customer which I'm serving or my bank is serving? Would the same controls apply to the bank which is served by, let's say, Victor? Possibly the answer is no. And that's why it's so much important to understand that what is the strategy that you are trying to address and what are the inherent risks in your strategy, in the delivery of that strategy. Are you making are you making your planning, your growth plans or your strategic initiatives that you're taking? Are those in line with or within your risk appetite, which bank must be operating in? And then look at top-down to say, within my strategy, these are my inherent risks. These are the areas and processes I'm going to implement. Within these processes, these are the specific pain points or the items that need to be addressed from the perspective of AML, from the perspective of compliance, from the perspective of fraud risk management, and so on and so forth. And then a cross-functional analysis saying that do the process that I'm designing from cybersecurity perspective can also be seen for their effectiveness from the fraud risk perspective, or from the perspective of saying the AML telemetries that I can collect. So it is an integrated and holistic approach that would take us further. And the core of it all is keep customer to the center of the product that you're developing, the processes that you're developing. Combine this now together with the previous question that you had on the users being the weakest link. Now flip this argument around and say, your customer could be the first line of defense, where the industry and ecosystem could be cleared if they are strong enough to recognize the pattern of the transactions that they should not be acting upon. So it is both in your interest to save customers' interest and also in your interest to build your sustainable customer that will be with you, associated with you for a very long period of time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Pradeep. Victor, I'm afraid I think three of us can keep talking about for hours on these topics.
I can go over the 2 hours, but Pradeep raised some really good points. Client education awareness is incredibly important.